Hello, my name is Russell Carr and I'm the president and founder of Berg Compliance Solutions. Thanks for checking out part 2 of our video series where we're talking about environmental health and safety liabilities facing small companies, and more importantly, what steps your company can take today to manage and avoid them. All right, let's get on with it. Okay, so the liabilities and risks that I've been talking about in the first video can be lumped into 4 major categories. First, there's regulatory fines and penalties from agencies like OSHA, EPA, and state environmental agencies like Texas Commission on Environmental Quality here in Texas. Then there's civil and even criminal liabilities that can easily be triggered when employees are injured or possibly killed on the job, or when serious environmental violations occur. Then there's all the direct and indirect costs associated with workplace injuries that end up costing U.S. companies on average $140 billion every single year. So for example, did you know that the average workplace injury will end up costing a company anywhere between $30,000 and $80,000 by the time everything is said and done? And of course, the biggest liability and tragedy of all is when employees get seriously injured or killed on the job as a direct result of an employer's failure to manage basic health and safety regulations. We're going to talk more about the human toll in a moment, but before that, I want to share some actual recent examples of what has happened to companies and business owners who have found themselves in these situations. In 2017, a Central Texas manufacturer was fined over $450,000 by OSHA for 25 different health and safety violations after an employee lodged a complaint to OSHA. In January 2018, a small business owner in Seattle was charged with felony manslaughter for ignoring safety regulations, which resulted in the death of an employee. And another small business owner in Pennsylvania is currently facing similar criminal charges and a $250,000 fine after one of his employees was also killed as a result of ignoring safety regulations. Another small Texas business owner had to pay a $2.5 million settlement after an employee was severely burned while welding a storage tank that exploded. The employee claimed that the owner knew about the hazards but failed to warn him about it. So these examples show how bad it can get, not only for companies, but also what can happen to individual business owners when their employees get seriously injured or killed due to negligence. To make matters worse, when these things happen, the news can spread very quickly by word of mouth, online, and in trade journals for competitors, your local community, and worst of all, your customers to see. Besides the embarrassment, now you are dealing with a major PR nightmare for the company. This can end up having a lasting and devastating impact on your business. As Warren Buffett once said, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. I want to end off this section by talking a little more about the biggest risk of all, which is when employees end up getting seriously injured or killed on the job. And this is really important to talk about for the simple reason that a lot of employers, even those in high hazard industries like construction, energy, and even manufacturing, make the mistake of believing that it'll never happen to them at their company. But consider the following statistics. Did you know that 4 million work-related injuries and illnesses happen each year in the U.S.? This translates into almost 11,000 every single day. And over half of these injured workers will become permanently disabled. Now I want to talk about U.S. workplace fatalities. On average, 4,600 workers will die each year on the job in the U.S. This translates into 90 people every single week, or 13 deaths every single day. So the statistics just don't lie. Employees get seriously injured and killed on the job every single day in the U.S. But yet again, a lot of business owners refuse to believe that it could ever happen to them. But imagine if it did, and how you would deal with this as an employer. Imagine the stress and the guilt over the loss and the impact on the employee's family. Imagine the impact it would have on your company, the wrecked morale, the disruption, downtime, and again, there's the potential for criminal and civil liability if it's proven that the accident happened as a result of employer negligence. The all-around risks are just too big to ignore. So there you have it, a brief summary of the major environmental, health, and safety risks and liabilities facing small companies. So why are small companies at heightened risk? Small companies are at greatest risk because they almost always lack the time, expertise, and resources needed for managing environmental health and safety compliance successfully which in turn puts them at greatest risk for all of these problems and liabilities. And while small companies are at greatest risk for these liabilities, they're also often least able to absorb the losses when they happen. And this is a terrible irony. Okay, so I know what you're probably thinking about now. You're thinking, this is ridiculous. I'm just trying to run my business, and none of these things are going to happen to my company anyway. But let's face it, if you work in a high hazard industry like manufacturing, construction, or energy, and nothing bad has happened so far, you've probably just been lucky. But sooner or later, the odds are going to catch up with you. Again, these things happen to small companies across the country every single day. And look, I get it, I understand, because I used to own and operate 2 small energy companies, both of which put our employees in very dangerous working conditions every single day. So I had to implement and manage OSHA compliance, and I struggled for years trying to make this happen. Look, I understand how tough it is to run a business and make these things happen, just like you're struggling today. I get it. In fact, those experiences were my main inspiration for starting this company to help other small business owners and other small companies manage environmental health and safety compliance. Look, if you're bored and you want to learn more about that, check out our website and our About Company page where I talk a lot more about that. All right, so here's the final thing that I want to leave you with on this video, and this is really important. If your business operations put your employees, put the environment, or put your local communities at any risk, then there's a long list of federal and state rules, laws, and regulations that you have to follow. And if you don't, and something bad happens, then you can end up putting your entire company and maybe even yourself at great liability and risk. That's just an unfortunate part of running a high hazard business. So now that you know all the potentially catastrophic risks associated with non-compliance, what are you going to do? If you'd like to learn more right now about what you can do to manage and reduce your risk, check out our next video where we share the 6 keys to managing environmental health and safety risk and compliance. It's got a lot of great information that I think you'll really benefit from, so go ahead and check it out. And thanks for watching.